Hi, everyone. I'm BJ Daniels, and I'm very honored to be able to speak to you today on this very special day, the Transgender Day of Remembrance here in Milwaukee on November 20th. I just have a few comments to say. As someone who came out in 1977, when things were really kind of wild and woolly, and I felt like the world was really changing, and for me anyway. And, my eyes were opened in so many different ways, the least of which were some of the people that became influential in my life and people that I looked up to as a young gay kid who was on the feminine side of the spectrum. I had always wanted to be a performer and, was always considered very girly. But I really had the opportunity to meet some great people through my long career who were instrumental in changing the way that I felt about not only myself, but the courage to be that authentic self. One of the first people that I met in Madison, Wisconsin was the woman that lived next door to me. Now, Terry was a beautiful woman. She was a waitress at a local restaurant a few blocks away from where we lived. And it turned out she confided in me that she was transgender. And she was really literally the first person that I had met who had expressed that to me. Growing up in the country, I was very unaware of a lot of people that were like her. And it wasn't because I had any prejudice, but it was simply because they were non-existent. They were people that were not visible to others. So just the act of her telling her story at that time was something really quite special. So Terry, if you're still with us, I lost track of her a long time. I honor you because you really opened my eyes in so many ways, and your courage is something that is exemplary to me. Along the way as well, when I moved to Milwaukee, I met this Australian woman. She was also a trans woman, and her name was Holly Brown. She was a performer, and she was also a showgirl on the Gold Coast of Australia, and she came all the way to the U.S. to do a show on the West Coast, and she ended up just staying because she really loved it. She found a community here that was lacking in Australia in the 80s. And she ended up staying here for many, many years, probably a decade or more. And we became quite close friends. And she really opened my eyes about what it was like to live on a daily basis your authentic life. And really sort of some of the difficulties with that, because she often felt like she was somebody that didn't have a community. And yet she was embraced by the Milwaukee LGBT community and was revered. And now, of course, her name is in the pantheon of some of the greats in the LGBT community of Milwaukee. Another couple gals that I worked with were Candy Stratton, who was Miss Trans USA a couple years ago now, I want to say. And we worked together at Club 219. And I knew her back then before she transitioned. But she was always very single-minded about who she was, as was Mimi Marks, another great performer who really just exemplified what we're talking about here, which is being resilient and finding a way to make your dreams of who you are come true. One of my favorite folks that I'm super proud of, that I have known for many, many years, is Alexandra Billings. She started out as a performer named Shantae here in Chicago and in Milwaukee. And the thrill of a lifetime was me seeing her on television shows and seeing her on Transparent and knowing that she was starring on Broadway in Wicked. That was just such a joy to me And I wanted to just give everyone out there who is living the truth and finding a way to do that against all odds, against just great pushback from not only the government, but people around the world. Just know that you are loved, and I admire your courage, your resilience, and you are groundbreakers. You are making the way for others. So that's why I wanted to give them all a great shout out. And as you can see behind me, it's one of my great friends and fellow performers, Ginger Spice. So happy Transgender Day of Remembrance today, everyone. And thank you for letting me share a little bit of my history with all of you.